Hello everyone. In my last video, I was talking about the idea that who usually writes columns in newspapers. Let's see what we have in next slides. All right, the style of column writing. Uh, I think before I ended my last video, I did talk about this idea that uh, a column is always written with an I approach, and it is a subjective piece of writing. And by now, you all are very familiar about the objective and subjective debate in writing. However, we need to be mindful of the fact that the style of writing a column may vary. Well, each person is different, each person's style is different, so we can find different sorts of articles, different sorts of writings in newspaper columns. Some writers have humorous tone. We know that Ataul Haq Kasmi, I remember reading him. Sorry, I remember reading Ataul Haq Kasmi, and whenever he would write, whenever I would read his column, that would always be humorous. And although he would talk about serious issues, his tone usually would be very light and hilarious. And some of you may know, there is a column that appears in Nawai Waqt. Its name is Sare Rahe, and Sare Rahe also, they comment and talk about serious issues, but in a light way and in a humorous way. Yes, the purpose is to entertain as well. Columns do entertain us. Sometimes we have association with a particular columnist because we like their style, or their writing, and they give us information, they educate us, they guide us, they create awareness, but with that they also we also get some sort of entertainment. Similarly, there are some writers who write in a very, very serious tone. Like I know Zubaida Mustafa, Huma Yusuf, Khurram Hussain, all of these writers, they have a very serious tone. It's very rare that I find any humor in their writing. What they write is usually very solid analysis, but in a serious tone. Uh, However, you may find sometime an element of humor in Muhammad Hanif's articles. His writing style is usually kind of very light. Similarly, there are some writers who write in a very analytical way. Muhammad Amir Rana's article is a good example here. Um then I mean, there are writers who write in a satirical way, like there is a lot of satire in their writing, and Hassan Nisar is a very good example. And those of us who have seen him on TV, we know that he's actually known for an aggressive tone in his writing and also in his videos. He's famous for criticizing politicians and political parties and also government for its policies. Uh, okay, now here I have tried to answer this question. Some of you may come up with these questions that are columns published in magazines. I actually already answered this question when I was explaining the definition of column. Yes, the columns are published in magazines, and but you need to be very, I mean, only a frequent reader or only a regular reader of a magazine can know that, okay, this particular writer writes a column in this magazine on daily basis. And here I have shared an example from my experience. Mustansar Hussain Tarar, he's a famous literary figure also. Many of us know him from TV. Once he used to host a morning show on TV. um, so Mustansar Hussain Tarar, he used to write a column with it's there is the title, with the title Diary of a Vagabond. This was Mustansar Hussain Tarar's column that used to appear in Dawn every Sunday. You know, every Sunday Dawn publishes a magazine, and in his magazine you would always find, he doesn't write this column anymore, but he used to write this column with the name, with the title Diary of a Vagabond in Dawn, and that would appear in Dawn's Sunday magazine every Sunday. I think later he got the collection of his columns published in the form of a book, and today you can find a book with the same title, Diary of a Vagabond by Mustansar Hussain Tarar. Similarly, there is this famous Urdu magazine that comes every week, Akhbar-e-Jahan, and Mustansar Hussain Tarar used to write a column, an Urdu column in this magazine with the title of Karma Sarai, which would come every week. Of course, Akhbar-e-Jahan was a weekly magazine. Karma Sarai, Sarai, we know, is an Urdu word and its meaning is an inn, where travelers, while traveling, they can stay, they can go, they can stay for the night, and then they can resume their journey. So Karwa Sarai is a like, it's a title that, or a permanent heading that he was using for his column that would appear in Akhbar-e-Jahan every day. Again, this column does not appear anymore in Akhbar-e-Jahan, and I think Mustansar Hussain Tarar later published a book which is based on the collection of his columns that were published in Akhbar-e-Jahan. All right, here I have mentioned names of some famous columnists, and I have mentioned the names of newspapers as well in parentheses where their articles used to appear or are still appearing if they are still writing. There is this famous writer Cyril Almeida. He was associated with Dawn. He doesn't work with Dawn anymore. He would also write at Dawn's editorials. His columns used to appear in Dawn. Even today, when you go to Google, you write his name, and then against his name, you write Dawn. Internet will pull up a list of all of his columns that he contributed in Dawn. Another famous Pakistani columnist, Ardeshir Kaushji. I think all mass communication students in Pakistan, and especially students who have taken course on opinion writing, they must be familiar with Kaushji's name. Kaushji was an institution. He was a famous Pakistani columnist who wrote in Dawn for many years until he died in 2012. Then Huma Yusuf, she still writes with Dawn. Zubaida Mustafa, Khurram Hussain, Zahid Hussain. Let me tell you, Huma Yusuf, Khurram Hussain, and Zahid Hussain are Pakistan's columnists who are also Woodrow Wilson scholars. Then there is this name Ghazi Salahuddin, who writes with D News. I have already talked about him. Kamila Hayat is another columnist who is associated with D News. M.A. Niazi is a name who is associated with The Nation. His articles appear in The Nation. He is also resident editor of the same newspaper. Muhammad Hanif, his article, Pakistani columnist, his article appears in the New York Times on monthly basis. Nicholas Kristof is a famous columnist associated with the New York Times. You can find Nicholas Kristof's articles in the New York Times. Gail Collins is another famous columnist whose articles appear in the New York Times. Nasreen Malik is a columnist whose articles appear in The Guardian, which is a British international newspaper. If I'm not mistaken, I think Nasreen is from Sudan, but I need to recheck. However, she is a famous columnist who is nowadays associated with The Guardian. Hassan Nisar associated with Jung, Javed Chaudhry, and Salim Safi are two other famous names. I have given you a list of the writers that I myself have read. I have been reading all of these writers for years now. For how long, for how many years, I don't know exactly, maybe for more than 10 years. And I am very knowledgeable about all of these writers that I have discussed here. Now, as you all know that for your exam, there is a recorded presentation segment for your assessment that we will do after midterm exams. And for that, I am going to ask you to do a presentation about your favorite columnist. And I announced this in class that please begin your research from now. Start reading any of these columnists that I have mentioned here, or any other columnists that you are interested in. Start reading their columns, and then in the presentation, I will ask you to talk about the reasons for liking them. I will ask you, okay, who is your favorite columnist, and talk about the reasons for liking that person, or liking that writer or columnist. So start preparing your answer from now. With this, I have ended this lecture. If you have any question, please feel free to write me an email on firasatjabi@fccollege.edu.pk. Thank you.